Welcome to the Glitter Boom Girls podcast. I'm Robbie-Ann on the East Coast.
And I'm Amy Asbury on the West Coast.
And you guys, there's somebody else with us here today. We have a special guest. Reaching back into both of our childhoods, my own childhood here, child of the 70s, is my oldest, let's say long time. Let's not talk about old.
I like long time better.
Right. My longtime friend that I have known since we were 4 years old in kindergarten, Karen.
Here I am.
Right? And if you guys are regular listeners, you know the shout out Karen. Karen also happens to be, as referenced in our Yacht Rock episode, the West Coast Yacht Rock judge. Self-appointed, all of our rulings are final. So she's the one that I was talking about when I said if I have to do a consultation, then, I call her. And you're also a fan of the Yachtly Crew Band, right?
I am a croupie. Yes, I am a croupie.
A croupie.
Yes.
All right. So, and we did talk about Yachtly Crew too. But today's topic, now here's the reason that we have Karen on our show today, because she is literally, and I use that word with a capital L, the world's authority on today's topic, which is Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, I am. And somebody still married me. That's what's really amazing.
Yeah, I know we're missing Lou here, your husband.
It's just as well.
Yeah, at some point we'll drag him on. So, if you've heard our podcast, we get into a deep dive of certain things like Love Boat. We did we do Happy Days, Aim?
Did do Happy Days. We've been doing we did Bewitched and Gilligan's Island, all the shows we love.
Right. So and we did talk a little bit about Gilligan's Island before when we talked about after school reruns.
Well, you can't ever not mention Gilligan's Island because it is such a part of just everything.
I know. You get a bowl of cereal and, So, but today's the deep dive. So I want to just start with a little interview here. So, Karen, will you explain to all of our listeners, by the way, we're worldwide, like France, Germany, Italy, thank you very much. Hello, bonjour, ciao. Oh, yeah, ciao, that's it. Explain to us and everybody else, why Gilligan's Island? Like, why not the Munsters or the Addams Family?
I think it just goes back to my affinity for Tiki culture and tropical stuff. Even when I was little, I was convinced I was a Polynesian princess in a past life, and I don't even look close to being Polynesian.
A blonde-haired, blue-eyed Polynesian princess.
But I think that's where it comes from, and it just always stuck with me.
Interesting. Now, did this have anything to do with your childhood trips to Disneyland and Disney World?
I almost feel the opposite, like those trips to where, because Gilligan's Island predated that. So
right.
I was into that before Disney World really kind of existed. And I think that it just goes back to, again, the affinity for the Polynesian culture. And then when I got down to Disney and saw they had Polynesian stuff, then it was all over.
Wow. Right? Okay.
That's when the Enchanted Tiki Room kicked in. And there we go.
In the Tiki Room. Okay, so that makes sense. And when I think of Gilligan's Island, like here comes the deep dive. So we all know the arguments that people throw about, where did they get the batteries on the island? Or how come they couldn't just build a boat? Or, all this kind of stuff where you have to suspend that disbelief in order to enjoy the show. I want to test your trivia. So where did the professor get the batteries for the radio? How in the hell did that radio last for how many seasons was it, Aim? Like
3.
Gilligan's Island was only 3 seasons?
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I was today years old when I learned that.
Yep. There's
All right,
a lot of crazy things. Yeah.
So how did the radio battery last?
Well, they recharged them with they put the they put the pennies with the bobby pins in the coconut cups and filled it with seawater, and everybody had to take little sticks and swish the seawater, and it recharged the batteries. But
okay.
That's another
I'm like
one.
so glad to hear that. Okay, that makes me happy.
Right? I know. And then why didn't they build a boat?
That one I can't answer. They tried rafting a couple times. It never turned out well. One time the sharks attacked the raft, if you remember, in I think it was the first episode.
Yeah.
Two on a Raft, it was called.
Yeah.
Yes,
Listen
people,
to you.
it's deep.
Well, that kind of makes sense. And plus, if they built a boat, we wouldn't have the show.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, and then the other thing that always gets me, and I would never want them to change it, but where the hell did Ginger and the Howells get all those clothes?
Yeah, that one nobody's ever explained, other than the episode where the trunk washes up on the island with the film equipment. Remember that one? And it had all the costumes.
Right.
And yeah.
Was that the one where Gilligan was accidentally tarred and feathered?
No, that was the episode where the it was like almost like a Hubble satellite they were launching, but to explore Mars, but it landed on the island.
I love it.
Oh, I do have a problem, don't I?
Yeah. No. Hey, listen. The world needs experts on Gilligan's Island. Who else is going to explain all this stuff, right?
It's got me.
So, all right, let's go to you, Aim.
Yeah.
When I say to you Gilligan's Island, what happens in your head?
I feel joy. I loved Gilligan's Island. I loved the different characters. I loved the colors. You know, you guys know I love color, but Marianne had some really great bright green, bright pink. And I was one of the kids that looked up to Ginger Grant, which is not a good thing. But I looked at her like, oh, I can be like that, you know? So I really was like, wow, that's a powerful woman. That's not one of those like wallflower ladies. Yes, sir. No, sir. I thought, wow, everybody's into her. Like, and I was intrigued by Ginger Grant. So I loved the show. I watched it after school. So it brings me joy.
Oh,
when I think of it.
Okay, that's interesting. I think it is a joyful show, right? Because they never really took things seriously. Like, you know how some sitcoms go down that road where it's like a very special episode and something sad and meaningful happens around the humor. But that never happened with Gilligan. Like, Gilligan was just, it was all about like physical humor and incidental humor. And they never took anything seriously on that show, which is part of why, like, to me, it's kind of the same thing. Like, when I watch it now, it's just happiness and joy and escape. And, you know, there's no like, very little anyway, current events or, you know, things to be sad about on the island. And it should be noted that Karen and I used to get off the bus once a week at Karen's house out in outside of Buffalo. And we would sit, and your mom was usually working, right? Because I feel like we were there by ourselves.
No, because she was a teacher, so she would have got home right about the same time.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, I guess she was just kind of...
She just left us alone. She just
couldn't take it.
From us.
But yeah, we would sit and watch Gilligan's Island and eat those Lipton noodle soup with the tiny little noodles. And I didn't have the Tiki love, but I definitely loved the characters. Right? Like, I loved how they were drawn. And I really thought that as the second and third season, and I'm still shocked it was only 3 seasons. Like, I can't believe that. What years were that? Were they on?
Well, it was first filmed, the very first pilot in 1963. And do you all know about the very first day?
Okay, Karen probably does, but illuminate.
Well, anyway, Karen knows this, I'm sure. But the very first day they were filming this in Honolulu, Kennedy was shot, and they kind of heard the news, and they kind of didn't believe it. They're like, "This can't be real. He's not dead," you know. And they were kind of weirded out, and they were a little downtrodden. And if you look in the background of the very first episodes, when the minnow is going by, you can see the flag at half-mast, the American flag.
Get out.
Because it's the day that Kennedy was shot. It was November 1963.
So
very like kind of a like wow thing that very first happened to them. And that was, of course, when they had they didn't yet have Ginger. You know, remember they had a couple secretaries for the very first one when they tried to film it.
Right.
And I think there's a different professor or something. But anyway, the first season was 1964, and it went on through 1967.
Wow, that just blows my mind. If like for the number of episodes there are and seem to be, I would have guessed that that thing had like 6 seasons.
And for the longevity of the show. I mean,
Right?
It's still on TV.
Yeah.
It's still on TV. And you know what's really interesting about it? I mean, I always thought like, oh, this is cute, this is funny. But it turns out that Sherwood Schwartz was in some college class and the professor kind of like gave this question out. If you need, the desert island question, what one thing would you need? And he kind of kept thinking about that. And he actually based this show on that, thinking, okay, if people from all different cultures really had to be stuck together, they really could work it out. So he intended it to be kind of a shaming of world politics, according to the powers that be on the lovely interwebs.
Right.
But I thought that was really interesting. And also another thing that's a little deeper than I thought.
Well, it is a deep dive.
The 7 castaways were archetypes of the 7 deadly sins.
Oh.
Get out. Wait, okay, let's break this
You guys
down.
want to guess which ones were which?
Yeah, can we guess?
Okay.
Yeah, let's guess. Okay, so Karen, Ginger. Which 7 deadly sin do you think she was?
Lust. Is
Yep.
lust a sin?
I say lust too. Is that true?
Yeah.
Correct.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, and then, well, Mr. Howell. Wait, do Mr. and Mrs. Howell count as one, or are they separate?
No.
Okay,
They're
so
separate.
Mr. Howell. It's probably like greed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but then what is Mrs. Howell?
She is gluttony.
Mrs.
Although,
Howell,
come on.
gluttony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how he, when he first wrote it out and like how he wanted it to be.
Oh, okay. So this
But whatever,
didn't
maybe it didn't
necessarily
turn out that
translate into the series that we know
Correct,
today. Okay,
correct.
okay. But still, that's very interesting.
Uh-huh.
And then Gilligan was probably Sloth, right?
Correct. Yep.
And what's left?
Well, Skipper
Yeah.
was Wrath. Professor
Wrath.
was Pride. And I think that he might have started out like this is what he's going to do, and then it kind of took on a world of its own.
Right.
But Mr. Howell was Greed, Mrs. Howell was Gluttony, Ginger was Lust, and Marianne was Envy. So I guess initially she would have, maybe been played to be envious of Ginger or something, But I thought that was interesting, a little deeper than I thought.
Okay, that is really interesting. But, because here I am talking about how it's not a deep show, and its origins were, like literally the 7 deadly sins. Like that's pretty interesting.
It's kind of cute. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so Karen, I'm coming back to you, and I'm going to force you to pick a favorite episode. What is your favorite episode?
The episode with the mosquitoes.
Right?
Yes.
There's
Don't-
no
don't
other
bug
answer.
The mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
There is no other answer. You need us. You need us like a diamond
that
needs
episode
a
is
ring.
just hilarious.
Okay, so
Right?
wait, what was that episode? Remind me.
Okay,
ladies.
this was the episode where this band that was kind of based on the Beatles, sort of a Beatle-esque band,
yes.
they land on the island because they want to get away from all the girls and that stuff, and they want to make
Right.
music. And they're on the other side of the island, incidentally playing their instruments with no electricity, but that's okay. And then who stumbles on him, Karen? Is it Gilligan?
Yeah, he was listening to him on the radio, and the skipper kicked him out of the
Right.
hut. And they happened to be playing the same song Gilligan was listening to on the radio in time with the radio. Imagine that.
Right.
Yeah, and they okay. Now here's another thing about the trunk of clothes, because if you recall in the episode, so the mosquitoes land and they want to get away from everybody. Well, as soon as Ginger and Marianne realize the mosquitoes are on the island, they're like ah, and they're chasing them around, and the mosquitoes are like, come on, man, we came here to get away from this, and blah blah blah, and then everybody starts to scheme, right? Because if they make them mad, they won't be able to be rescued.
They wanted to tick them off enough and agitate them enough to where they wanted to leave the island and take the castaways with them.
Oh, okay. So
Oh, that's
I
very
had that a little bit backwards. So, but at the end, they end up putting on a little show for the mosquitoes. And Mr. Howell, by the way, I think that's one of Mr. Howell's most hilarious moments.
Yeah, it is by far.
Right, where he's on the stage. So Gilligan, the skipper, and Mr. Howell and the professor, they have this terrible band, and they're trying to entertain the mosquitoes. But the curtain is made out of all these clothes. Like they mysteriously sewed together all these clothes. And then the girls come on, and the honeybees, and they sing
The
this,
honeybees.
little groovy number. Right?
You need me.
Yeah,
I think
you
it was.
need me. And then the Mosquitos are like, wow, these girls are too big and they're too good. So they're not too big. They're just too good. So then they sneak off the island and they leave Gilligan an LP. Did I get that right?
Yes. And I have to admit,
Are you serious?
I did not know this till maybe a month ago, in all of my love of the show, that one of the lines Marianne says is, like Hawaiians love their poi.
Like Hawaiians love their poi.
Yes.
Like
I never knew what she said, but that's what she says. Like Hawaiians love their poi.
Okay. And that, yeah, because doesn't somebody say like a girl needs a boy?
Yes, she
Right.
says that too. And I'm like, and I always thought she said boy twice. And I'm like, well, that's kind of dumb, but that's not what she's saying. She's saying like Hawaiians love their poi.
Wow. Breaking
Well, that
news,
was brand
everyone.
new. I never knew that.
Like Hawaiians. Well, which is a good segue, by the way, to the theme song. So we got to talk about the theme song because we are all about theme songs on this podcast. So everyone knows, wait, how does it start again? Everyone knows except me. Well,
Just sit right back.
oh
and
yeah,
you'll
that's
hear
it.
a tale.
That's it. Just sit right back and you hear a tale of a fateful trip that started. Wait, is it bait boat ship?
It started from this traffic port aboard a tiny ship.
Oh, okay. The mate was a mighty sailing man. Okay. So that was the Wellingtons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who did that?
Who were also the Mosquitos.
Stop it!
Yes.
Stop it!
That's so
I
exciting.
can't even stand
Yes.
the serendipity. Holy
I
crap.
love that.
So oh my God, you guys, the Wellingtons were the Mosquitos. I can't even.
Oh my gosh.
I totally did not
It's
know that.
amazing. I know.
Yeah, I thought the Wellingtons were just like a fake name of like, some session guys who banged out this song. And Aim, do you know who wrote the song?
Oh, it's John Williams wrote the original Calypso theme song heard in the pilot. Oh, it's the Star Wars composer. That's who it was.
Wait
and
a minute,
apparently
wait
you
a
can
minute, wait a minute.
sing
The Star,
Amazing
okay,
Grace to the tune of Gilligan's Island, everybody.
really?
That apparently, but back to what I said initially. Yes, Star Wars composer John Williams wrote that initial theme song heard in the pilot.
Now, but did the theme change from the pilot to the regular series?
Well, yeah, they added. It used to be "and the rest," but
Yeah.
remember they added Professor and Marianne, and there was this whole thing with.
And they added their names because Bob Denver refused to come back on the show. I think his contract was up. And he said, I'm not coming back unless you put the Professor and Marianne.
Yes.
He's like, they're not the rest. I believe it was something to that effect.
It's true, and Ginger was sold this whole thing by her agent as like, hey, you're the star of this thing.
Oh,
So
I
everybody
didn't know
knows
that.
she had an issue, and she wanted to be named last in the song. So the movie star, she wanted to be last, and then they added on Professor and Marianne, so it was a big thing.
Okay, I have just located on YouTube the original pilot. So I got to sit through this ad about a flashlight. Hang on. Okay.
YouTube Premium, $2.99 a month.
Tropical sea is a tropic port. Vacation fun is the favorite sport. This is the place where the tourists flock, renting the boats at the busy dock. Two secretaries from USA sail on a Mino this lovely day. A high school teacher is next aboard, all taking trips that they cannot afford. The next two people are millionaires. They got no worries, they got no cares. They climb aboard and they step inside with just enough bags for a 6-hour ride.
6-hour ride.
Oh, so that's the Calypso song. Oh,
Yes.
that makes sense.
So wait,
How cute.
John Williams wrote that?
Apparently.
Or he wrote the second one?
No, he wrote the Calypso version. So I don't know who wrote the second one.
He must not have been John Williams then.
Yeah. Right.
Somebody Google. Somebody Google it.
It was his early
Yeah.
days.
Okay. I'm looking this up right now because we have uncovered some crazy stuff going on with theme songs, and I go back to the Happy Days episode when we discovered that the guy who ghosted Leif Garrett's music actually sang the original Happy Days.
Really?
Yeah, and then the Bewitched one, the guy that wrote it, wrote all this stuff for Frank Sinatra and all this. So we love all this trivia, but I want to
It
make
appears
sure we
George
have this right.
Wyle co-wrote the theme song to Gilligan's Island, and he also wrote "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year."
It's my
Wow.
favorite
Wow, I
Christmas
sing horribly.
song.
Isn't that a great song? I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So here's from Me TV. Written by legendary Star Wars composer John Williams.
There it is.
I can't even believe the education I'm getting today because like I've seen all these episodes, I know all this stuff, but OMG.
And you know what's interesting? I always found it really interesting that most of the episodes kind of revolved around 5 different basic plot lines. And one of them was, of course, visitors to the island, like that don't help them. Like that was
Right.
one of the 5 things. And then life on the island was one of them. And I think I got this from Me TV also, this whole thing I'm looking at right now. And that's kind of the running gag on the show, that they can make things out of bamboo. Like that was one
Right.
of the fun things, including a car, which everybody loved. And then I got to look at the other ones, but then there was dream sequences.
Oh,
Where they would like dream there was some character related to that week's storyline, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then there was another one where it was always like some kind of piece of news they heard on the radio that like concerned them or the outside world, what was happening. So it's just,
Right.
I don't know if that was 5, but yeah, there's certain things that they always kind of came back to and then they switched out of. And I just thought that was really cute.
Yeah, and I think that actually made the show funnier, right?
Yeah.
Because they were playing off of the characters and their traits. And like the one with where Gilligan's getting the opera in his tooth,
Oh, I love that one.
right? That's a
That
good
was
one.
so cool.
Yeah, and so he's falling asleep, and every time his mouth opens, it's like,
Right.
So wait, Karen? What happened to Gilligan? Did they pull his tooth, or he got hit on the head?
He got hit on the head, and when the hurricane went through, that's how it got fixed. I don't know how, but
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because
that's
weren't
why
they?
it never happened again. Because
And weren't they like setting up these contraptions, like a thing on a spring with a big thing, and it would hit him in the head and try and knock it back? Or am I-
Yes.
okay, I'm thinking of the right episode. That's cool.
that's the one.
Yeah, and what about let's get into the dream sequences, because I think one of the unique things about the Gilligan's Island dream sequences
I really liked those.
is because when they dreamt, they were always like in real life, like they weren't
some
on the island.
beatnik or something.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I guess Ginger was the only one that did not have a dream sequence, which I found interesting.
Really?
Yeah, and before we get into that, the 5th thing that one of the 5 things they usually went to is real quick, the appearance of some kind of strange object that landed there, like, like the old motion picture camera, or like the lion, or
The
like some kind
meteor,
of
the
Mars
meteors.
rover, whatever.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, the meteor. Wait, so Karen, what happened with the meteor? Is that what it made everybody glow, or no? That
It was
the vegetables.
aging everybody.
Oh,
Oh, that was radioactive vegetable seeds or
Oh,
something.
the radioactive vegetables were amazing. That's one of the funniest episodes, too.
right.
Yeah, so,
Mrs.
things
Howell
would
on the
land on
sugar
the
beets?
island.
Yeah, she's cleaning the little thing, like her little hut.
Robbie and
super
I
fast.
used to run around the house when our moms would be like, "You guys need to clean up this room." We'd be running around picking stuff up, going dun 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 dun.
That's so
because we thought we
cute.
were Mrs. Howell
Right,
on the sugar.
beets.
And was that
love
the
that.
episode where Gilligan glowed in the dark and they put him up? Or
No,
which
that's a
one was that?
different one. That was one where they knew some ship was going by, some fleet of ships, so they were making phosphorescent stuff to make a signal, and Gilligan ate it. Something.
Oh yeah, he thought it was key lime pie or something.
Oh my gosh.
I see.
yes.
Okay, I remember now. And because he was glowing, they're like, okay, you be the beacon.
Right.
And then they stuck him on some high ground. Yeah, that's funny. That's really funny. I liked the. I really enjoyed the dream sequences too, because I felt like it was a nice change of scenery. Like
Right.
getting him off the island. Like the one. What's the one where Ginger's selling the fish? Fresh fish.
Oh no, that's where she's testifying.
Oh,
Where Gilligan's turning into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's
Oh,
one,
that
and she's
scared me. I was
testifying against
scared of
Fresh
that.
Fish.
I liked the Jack and the Beanstalk one. I faintly remember somebody
Yeah.
had a dream.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah.
Well, I've got something for you. Do you all know the skipper's real name? I mean, on the show that he was supposed to be
I
named.
bet Karen does.
Yeah, I know what it is.
What is it? I don't know.
Jonas Grumby.
I would have never.
I would never guess that either.
Jonas Grumby.
Okay,
And-
so then she also must know the professor's name.
Yes.
What's his name?
Roy Hinckley.
Roy Hinckley would have never known that. And then Lovey Howell's maiden name is
Wentworth. Is that right?
Eunice
Okay.
Wentworth. Her name is Eunice.
Yes, people. I
Friggin-
found someone to marry me.
Eunice.
Oh yeah, shout out Lou. We know you're listening.
Eunice.
Now,
So,
just
yeah.
okay. So let me sidebar here because we love sidebars. So Karen's husband is Lou.
Lou.
Lou does not strike me as a Gilligan's Island type. Does he watch the show with you ever?
He will, yeah. If I'm sitting there sometimes and he's bored, he'll sit and watch it, and he laughs. He laughs at it too,
Yeah.
and he thinks it's funny, but he won't admit it.
Oh, okay. Well, too late now, Lou.
Yeah.
People in France know that you like Gilligan's Island.
He loves Mr. Howell.
Well, let's talk about Jim Backus a little bit, because when I watch the show now, like when I was little, I found myself laughing mostly at Gilligan and his antics. But the older I got, the funnier Mr. Howell seemed to me, with his little one-liners and his deadpan.
That's because we understand the jokes now. We didn't get the jokes when we were kids. Now we're adults and we pay taxes, and it's like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Right.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
And you know
that's
what's
a
very
good point.
interesting about Jim Backus, he was very close with Sherwood Schwartz. He was actually buddies with him, and he was kind of doing him a favor by being, on there. And he was one of the only people that was allowed to ad-lib. They would not let anybody else do it, but he was allowed.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
then
Okay. No wonder those
Natalie
lines are so
Schafer,
funny.
Yeah, Mrs. Howell also was allowed to play off him. So they were allowed to do that, but nobody else was. So I thought that was lovely. I thought
That's
it was really
very
cool.
interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so I just for a second, let's step off the island and talk about the rescue TV movie that was like 10 years or maybe 15 years after they went off the air. Do you guys remember this? It was a TV movie, and they brought the cast back, and Marianne, she had a boyfriend who like hadn't seen her in 15 years, and he still wanted to marry her. And but the big deal about the TV show was they had a different Ginger, right? Because Tina Louise didn't want to do it. And so let's talk a little bit about Tina and her contribution to the show and her on the show. So, Aim, was Tina part of that early pilot?
She was not. I don't think she was. I don't remember who it was, but there was two secretaries initially. They were like Bunny and Kitty, or there was two secretaries instead of the naive country girl and the movie star.
Okay.
So it was two completely different characters. So she was not there. And then when they realized they wanted somebody kind of like Marilyn Monroe, they actually asked Jane Mansfield to play the role of Ginger Grant, who, by the way, was supposed to be Cary Grant and Ginger Rogers. Like, that was how they came up with that name.
Oh, okay.
Jane Mansfield turned it down, and Tina Louise was in a ton of movies, was a Broadway actress, but I don't want to say the method actors are all like this, but she was a Lee Strasberg student, so she may have been a little serious about not that you can be too serious about your craft, but those types tend to be, it is said, a little difficult to work with when it comes to television, especially.
Yeah,
So I don't
television
remember
shows
how
are a
she got the
grind.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was not in the very first ones, no.
Okay. And when we talk about Ginger, we have to talk about Marianne, because that's the ultimate, guy choice. Like, is it Ginger or is it Marianne? But I always found it interesting because they had such different personalities, right? Like neither one of them was dumb, and
Right.
they were both smart women. They both could figure things out, and neither one of them got involved with anybody on the island, right? Like, Kitty McLickens wants to be a part of this. So I don't know. Don't we all look at ourselves as women and figure out, like, are we a Ginger or are we a Marianne? You know?
I feel like I try to be a combo of the two. Not anymore, but and I've always heard that men liked Ginger and teenagers liked Marianne. You know, I don't know. I think it just depends on. And one of them was like, hey, one's wife material, one's not.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. That's kind of the whole argument, right? It's like
oh yeah,
you can't be both. And you know what? You totally made my point, Aim, because I think every woman is a combination, and sometimes they're a little more Ginger or a little more Marianne, right? But
and Marianne was so. I mean, she was Miss Nevada, Dawn Wells. Like she was more of a beauty queen, really. So
Right.
it's kind of interesting the way
she was no slouch. Yeah. So Karen,
No.
what do you lean more toward, Marianne or Ginger? If you're both, or are you one or the other?
No, I think I think Amy hit it on the head. It's a little bit. You're a little bit of both. Some days you're a Marianne. Some nights you're a Ginger.
I think I'm
Some
the
days
skipper.
that's so cute. Wait, guys, did we say? I forgot to ask. What's Gilligan's first name?
I don't know it, but Karen
Because
does.
I have the answer, and I want to know if you guys know.
Well,
Of course, I did not know this, by the way. Of course, I
you
just
know,
looked it up.
it's funny you say that because I've heard a couple different things. I've heard his first name is really Willie,
Yes,
but then Bob Denver is adamant in saying no,
Yes.
his first name is Gilligan.
correct. So Sherwood Schwartz wrote it as his first name was Willie, but Gilligan's like, no, that's not true. So whoever
So
you wanna
Gilligan
listen
has
to.
a mystery last name, according to Bob Denver. Like if Gilligan was his
I don't
first
know.
name,
I don't know what he
was his
said,
last
but
name?
he didn't like the Willie. He's like, no, I'm Gilligan. It's like Cher. Whatever. I don't know. And you guys, Raquel Welch had auditioned for Marianne, which I thought, wouldn't
Oh,
that be
wow.
funny? Her
Raquel
against
Welch
Tina Louise.
auditioned for Marianne.
Yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
kind of crazy.
Wow,
And
okay.
Carol O'Connor auditioned for the Skipper.
Yeah, okay. I do not see Archie Bunker as the skipper.
And
But-
then Dabney Coleman auditioned for the Professor.
I could see that.
Mhm.
I think he'd be a good professor.
And then another person who auditioned for Marianne was Pat Priest, the Munsters.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
That
she
would've
was
been
the
good.
human monster,
Mhm.
right? The human looking.
That would have been cute.
Yeah, she
course,
would have
Marianne.
Part.
Simple farm girl from Kansas.
Mhm.
We like Dawn Wells.
Yeah. Yeah, R.I.P. So have they all passed now? Or no, Tina Louise is still alive, right?
Tina Louise is the last surviving cast member. Dawn Wells just passed of COVID, unfortunately. And it's kind of cool. Dawn Wells took care of Natalie Schafer when she was going through an illness before she passed away, I think in the early 90s.
Yeah, Karen, you know a lot about the relationship because they had a close friendship,
Yeah,
right?
they were really, really good friends.
Yeah,
So
like what do
cool.
you know about that?
I remember reading that Dawn Wells had said at one point they went on a diet together, and their diet was to eat ice cream 3 times a day for 5 days. And she's like, at the end of the time, we lost 5 pounds.
We're
That was
probably
their
really
diet.
sick.
Right, yeah. That's all they ate. They had ice cream 3 times a day for a week, a little less than a week. And she's like, we lost 5 pounds.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I need to go on that diet.
I know, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds. I mean, does it matter what flavor?
I don't think so.
You
I
know?
think it was just ice cream.
Yeah. Now we did this too with the Love Boat cast, where we get into like the history of these performers, and we did it with Bewitched too. So I don't know, Aim, can you tell us anything about Natalie Schafer's career? Like, was she?
Yeah, Natalie Schafer did a ton of movies. She did a ton of movies. She always played a socialite, believe it or not. She was usually a socialite in all of her movies, and she was really annoyed when she got cast as Lana Turner's mother. And she was only a couple years older. She's like, really? But she took the part. And then she ended
what
up
was
in
that? What movie was that?
I don't remember, but she was her mother. You guys Google it while I'm continuing. It's pretty funny. And there's another one where she ended up like they offered her a role, and she's like, "Do I have to be the mother?" They're like, "No, you can be the sister." And it was somebody within the same age range as Lana Turner, but she played a lot of socialites. I think she did a lot of Broadway. She did a lot of plays, Shakespeare, on the stage when she was very young. And her first kiss on stage was a woman who played Romeo, and she was Juliet. So I thought that was
Like an
Kinda
all-female Shakespeare?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
back in the day. So her family did not want her to go and do this. They thought it was déclassé, the whole, how people are sometimes. But she was in a lot of films. And strangely, she and Jim Backus were the only two that were on Sherwood Schwartz's next project as guest stars, The Brady Bunch. They both ended up on The Brady Bunch, which I thought was really cool.
They did.
What was Natalie on The Brady Bunch? I don't remember
when
that.
Cindy was doing the Good Ship Lollipop.
Oh, yeah. She thought she was Shirley Temple.
Yeah. So yeah, she had great film roles, and she thought this was going to be nothing, but she just wanted that trip to Honolulu. She's like, I'll go. They're like, we'll pay you. So she went thinking like, oh, this will be nothing. But she did say on the show, listen, I will do this, but I want to choose what I wear. And a lot of people say it's because she didn't like her ankles. She wanted her ankles to be covered, but she wanted to be more flamboyant. So she chose all those crazy costumes, which I thought was really cute.
That's interesting you say that about her ankles too, because now that I think about it, she wore pants, right?
Yeah.
Like all the time. Yeah. Yeah,
like hot island.
Marianne had her Daisy Dukes, and Ginger had that inexplicable sequin gown that one wears on a 3-hour tour. And and Mrs. Howell, she always had the little pants sets and stuff. And okay, that's a nice segue into Jim Backus, because you guys, if you don't know, Jim Backus was in friggin' Rebel Without a Cause. Like, this guy was a very, very prolific and talented actor, like stage, movies, all kinds of stuff. And my favorite role, though, for Jim Backus, aside from Mr. Howell, is the voice of Mr. Magoo, the cartoon.
Right? Love that.
He just had that, he had that thing down. It was, he made it so watchable. And I guess he was also an avid golfer.
Well, of course.
It's kind of interesting.
Mr. Howell.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe he didn't suffer so much from the stereotyping. Like Ginger couldn't, Ginger, I just called her Ginger. So Tina couldn't really escape Ginger. Marianne couldn't really escape being Marianne. Bob Denver could not escape being Gilligan.
Boy.
I mean, he had a whole show before that, right? The Dobie Gillis show. But, nobody remembers that. Everybody remembers him, like, as Gilligan. And then same thing with the skipper, right?
You're right. I know it's sad. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it that Mr. Howell was not that strong of a character? I don't think so. I don't
think so. I think he was one of the strongest characters he had. I mean, maybe it's the depth of his experience. Like, I'm going to look up, I'm sorry, I'm banging around. I'm going to look up the skipper here. Alan Hale, right?
He actually embraced being the skipper. He did. He loved being the skipper. He opened a bar like in Florida or something, and years later, and he would show up wearing what he wore on TV, and he was the skipper. I mean, he loved that role.
Would you not just fall off your bar stool if you were sitting in some bar and the frickin' skipper walks in? I'd be like, ah, like I would lose it.
Yeah,
totally lose it. He must have gotten mobbed, and that brings up a good point too. That I think is true of all of these classic sitcoms, The Happy Days and Bewitched and Laverne and Shirley and all of them, especially the Sherwood Schwartz, the Brady Bunch. They get, trapped in this role, right? And so they go to an audition and they're looking at him and they're like, that's Marianne, because they can't quite, they can't chameleon themselves or whatever it is. But I think for the people that embraced it, like the skipper, it's a lot more fun, right? And I'm curious. I don't know if you came across this, Aim, but I'm curious about their residuals. And did they have some kind of a deal where they still get paid, for the reruns and all that stuff? Because a lot of times the actors sign their residual rights away, or after it's only good for 5 years or whatever.
Only one of them made money till the end, and that was Dawn Wells.
Really?
Yep, her husband was a talent agent, and on her second season, I think she signed there was a clause added in that she got something. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but she got some kind of back end.
And that was in the days before reruns.
Right. Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She made money till the end.
No wonder Tina's so better.
Possibly. You guys, this is something I thought was really neat. There's a Gilligan's Island Brady Bunch crossover moment at the end of a very Brady sequel. Do you guys remember what that was?
Did it have something to do with the little Tiki guy? The surfing? No, I don't remember. Do you remember?
It is revealed that Carol's long-lost husband, you know how she was married before Mike Brady, was the professor.
Get out of here.
I swear that's what on that. And there was also an I Dream of Jeannie and Brady Bunch crossover moment at the end of that movie when Jeannie shows up claiming to be Mike Brady's first wife.
So the mother of the three boys.
Apparently.
Right? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I think it's cute. But
those Brady sequels I thought were funny. I liked those.
They were pretty good.
Right? They just, my favorite was the when they showed Mike's architecture work and every single thing he built looked exactly like the Brady house. It was like a McDonald's, like the Brady house, a medical center,
That's
like
so
the Brady
funny.
house. It's like all he could do.
You know, they said Shaggy on Scooby-Doo was inspired by Bob Denver, which I thought was pretty darn funny.
Really?
I could kind of see that a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that too, but
on the
what's
Dobie,
the timeline?
Dobie Gillis.
Oh,
Bob
yeah.
Denver.
Yeah, what was his name? Maynard Krebs on Dobie
Yes.
Gillis? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So they based. Yeah, but that's kind of interesting. Like I thought Scooby-Doo.
Right?
I thought Scooby-Doo predated that, but I guess not, right? What was Scooby-Doo?
I don't know.
It was
Dobie Gillis.
Hanna-Barbera. Was that all right, I got to look it up again.
Yeah, we're going to have to we need sources.
We need
on
a
that
research
one.
staff.
That one just was floating around Google, but
Right.
But I do remember watching that Gilligan's Island cartoon in the early 80s, late 70s, and I remember thinking like, I don't like this. They had Ginger with platinum white hair, and it really bothered me.
Yeah, that bothered me too. That
Right?
bothered me. Yeah, and then they did Gilligan's Planet.
What the heck was
Remember that one? I think that was like a cartoon for maybe 1 year, and I don't think
Yeah.
where they got shipwrecked on another planet. So that must have been a hell of a storm.
Well,
You,
yeah, in
that
the
was
end,
so wrong.
in the end,
That was in like
of,
82. Yeah, I remember like, what is this thing?
Oh, it was that late in 82.
That was late.
In the one that I was talking about a few minutes ago, the Gilligan's Island movie, like Return to Gilligan's Island, I think, and it's on Tubi or Pluto, one of those two. Like we love Pluto. We're we kind of take our cues of shows to cover by watching Pluto, but at the end of that one, they all end up on the same island. Like there was, some big shipwreck thing in a storm, and they all crawl up on the or on the beach and in the sand, and then they start looking around, and there's the hut, and they're, they're like, no, and that's how it ends.
I remember seeing some kind of Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island, like some kind of movie.
Yeah, because
like
they
the
did
late
a show,
70s, early 80s.
They did do a show after where Mr. Howell made the island into a resort, right? And it was like a sitcom. It was like a weekly
Like
thing.
a spinoff?
They did it like, do you remember Aloha Paradise?
No.
Now that's so cool.
No, what's Aloha Paradise?
It was on, I think, right after Love Boat or Fantasy. It was in that same kind of genre, but it was just like the Love Boat, but it was a resort. They had different guests every week, blah blah blah, and it was only on TV for like a year or two.
And it was Mr. Howell's thing.
Well,
he ran it, or
Aloha Paradise was its own show, but the Gilligan's Island was the exact same premise. I don't remember what they called it though, but it was the same premise where Mr. Howell had this. He took the island and made it into a resort, and they would have different guests come each week.
Were there dinosaurs?
Yeah, that one's called The Castaways on Gilligan's Island.
That's it.
It says it's
That's
like
it.
some kind of movie.
It was like
so
a movie
funny.
of the week, or was it sometimes they
It
remember they used to do
says-
those summer replacements
movie.
for a few months, but I guess they were trying to spin it off, or I don't know.
And I liked every time they did that, although they felt weird. I was always like, this doesn't feel right. But I always was happy to see them again. Didn't you guys feel like they were your friends?
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
It was a warm and fuzzy.
yeah, total warm and fuzzy. Because like I said before, they never got serious. They never. Even Three's Company took on some scary, like abusive partners, or there were some moments, not too many, but some moments on
Right.
Three's Company where all of a sudden it was a drama. And
Right.
like Family Ties was the king of that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
You know, there's always some big crisis.
Uncle
drama.
Ned is an alcoholic. Yeah.
Played by Tom Hanks.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you're right. It was just joyous, right?
Yeah. And to me, I know what it triggers in me. Like when I see it on TV, I immediately want to get like a big glass of Pepsi and a bag of something, you know, Cheetos, potato chips or whatever, Fritos. And I just want to like curl up on the couch and just watch it for as long as it's on, you know, because it's complete and total escape. Yeah. Like, do you binge the show, Karen?
Yes. Well, I have all the seasons on DVD. So yeah, every now and then when I'm like in house cleaning mode, I don't do music. I put on TV. So I'll put in a DVD and just run through all the episodes.
And do you end up sitting on the couch like with a rag in one hand and the bucket?
I get nothing done.
Cute.
Okay, so which one do you go to? Which one of the first 3 seasons? You know, you got to clean the house. You got to pick one. Which one do you pick?
You know, I usually start at the beginning and work my way through because some of the early ones are really good, like the Japanese sailor episode, which I don't even think they air anymore because it's not politically correct, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The surfer one, I love the one where the surfer comes on the island.
Yeah, he's he's kind of like the Mosquitos, right? Like how did he end up there again?
He ended up there on a rogue wave, and he rode it all the way from Hawaii to the island.
I love that. They named the SS Minnow after the chairman of the FCC, who like they hated. His name was Newton Minnow, and he described television as a vast wasteland.
Well,
so
he
they were
wasn't
like,
wrong.
Screw this guy. So they named the SS Minnow that gets all tore up in the ocean after Newton Minnow.
A little Easter egg there. That's kind of interesting.
Throw that in there for y'all.
Yeah, and I remember too. Okay, so well, I'll go back to you, Karen, because I'm talking about stuff I don't really know. So between the first, second, and third series, tell AIM, tell our listeners, what's the difference? Like, you know how a show will go for a season and then like Remington Steele, you know, they add another secretary or they drop a character, or they move somewhere or whatever. So what were the differences between the first, second, and third seasons?
I didn't think, other than the theme song, and becoming from black and white to color, I didn't really ever see any huge changes in any of those characters, really. I mean, they became a little bit more in character from year to year. You know, Gilligan became a little goofier, Ginger became a little sexier. But honestly, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think it changed a whole lot like we see in other shows like that.
I have a question for Karen. Because I don't remember either, but I only remember Ginger's hair going from that Marilyn Monroe flip to long to her shoulders with bangs.
Mm-hmm.
Remember she had a full-on hairstyle change? When did that happen?
I think that was the last season. Season 3, I want to say. I think she had the Marilyn Monroe flip in like maybe the first 2, and then the third one is where she got the bangs.
Yeah, that sounds
remember
right.
She had like straight long hair at the end, or maybe it was.
Well, yeah,
it
was that 60s. Yeah, it was like that 60s
little flip
poof
at the
with
end.
the bangs. Yeah, and like the That Girl silhouette.
Yeah,
Right?
that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah,
that's
total
why.
Marlo Thomas.
Okay.
And incidentally, sidebar, I looked up Scooby-Doo. So Scooby-Doo started from Hanna-Barbera in 1969. So totally makes sense that they would model Shaggy after Gilligan or Maynard Krebs in Dobie Gillis. So that's kind of interesting. I freaking love Scooby-Doo. If Scooby-Doo's on, I'm in the seat.
We're going to have to do one on Scooby.
You are going to have to do a Scooby.
Yeah. You know what? We should do a whole one on Hanna-Barbera, right?
Oh, but there's so many facets.
Yeah, that's true. It might get diluted.
I did talk a lot about Hanna-Barbera in our cartoons episode, but we really should pick one of those shows. I do have one more interesting thing, ladies, about Gilligan's Island.
Lay it on us.
I will say that, the whole, they couldn't show the navel of I Dream of Jeannie and all that. they showed Marianne's navel many times in that show. They found some loophole.
Really?
And yeah, they actually did.
Yeah, because she always had the little hip huggers on.
Right,
That's
with
right.
the little tied shirt. But Jeannie was before Gilligan's
Jeannie
Island,
was
right?
before, and I think the whole, like, you're not allowed to do this anymore was over by 1966, which was right in the middle of this, so maybe that's
Okay.
why. But yeah, they somehow, her navel was shown, and people were like, wait a second, wasn't that like a thing? So there's a nice 60s navel that you can gaze at
Interesting.
in reruns.
Okay, so we still have a few more minutes left, so I want to pick Karen's brain about the various inventions that they came up with on the island. So okay, we covered the batteries and and then they had the bicycle too, right? Where they would generate stuff. But what tell me, like, what are the inventions that kind of stick out in your mind?
Well, the car is obviously the big one. I'd love to have the car. I would drive that around town if I could.
The Gilligan
I live right down the
Mobile.
street from my work. I would totally just pedal my butt to work.
Wasn't it like a little golf cart, like a tiki golf cart?
That's
Am I
kind of what
thinking
it
of the
looks
right
like.
thing?
Yeah, it's all bamboo.
Did it run on gasoline?
No, foot pedal. You pedal it like you pedal a bicycle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stones.
Yeah.
Totally Flintstones. Did your feet go? Yeah. Okay. So the car.
They
What
had
else?
the car. They had the washing machine, but you did that with that was a drum barrel and a bicycle, and then they put something in there, and that's how they do the washing machine.
Oh yeah, because the
To wash their
bicycle, it had
clothes.
like a timing chain or something. It would spin.
Yes.
The barrel.
Yeah, it would spin.
Where did they get a barrel?
I know. I know. I don't know where they got the barrel.
Yeah, that's funny. I think it did get a little frustrating to me that they just, that one thing after another happened and they never could get off the island. Because I was always like, but their families don't know where they are, and like that always kind of creeped me out a little bit, which is why I loved the dream sequences, because they would be like, in real life. And when you watch the return to Gilligan's Island, which I think was like 80, maybe it's 78. I think 78's ringing a bell. And they're literally in 1978 California. It's not as funny, like seeing them in the real world for real, not a dream sequence or whatever. It just wasn't that funny. Like I think that, like you said, Karen, where the seasons didn't change that much. I think that's probably why the show endures, right? They know what the viewers wanted, and they know what they liked. They know what made them laugh. I mean, even the Brady Bunch had the cousin Oliver,
That's when they jump the shark, when they add a little kid. It's all over.
Yeah, and Family Ties. Suddenly they had a baby out of nowhere. It was like, in 3 months,
Andrew.
2 years went by. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the music of the original Gilligan's Island was such a big part of it. Didn't you guys love that, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, that little
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
music?
Yeah, like the incidental music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good.
It's all happy, but,
Right. Yeah, the Eternal Vacation.
Happy. And that music was kind of in the background of our lives, we were getting up and doing our thing. And don't you just
Right.
remember hearing that kind of as your soundtrack?
Yeah, it reminds me of summer afternoons, like being at your house, Karen. When I hear the theme, that's the first thing I think of, is like our summer afternoons or our nice weather afternoons, sitting watching that show and eating snacks or something.
And it's so funny that all these shows to us are after school shows, and we forget that this was primetime TV at one point.
Right? Yeah, that's a
what's so
really good
crazy.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, in that landscape, when Gilligan's Island was on primetime, was it CBS, right? Or
I
am
asked
I
my
don't
mom
remember.
that once. I'm like, did you watch Gilligan's Island when it was like real and like the first episodes? And she's like, no. What the hell's wrong with you?
She was too busy watching PBS.
I know. No, I didn't.
So I have a question for both of you, being that you watched this show almost constantly. What do both of you remember about the other? Like, so Robbie, when you saw Karen, like, what's the first crazy 70s outfit you remember her wearing, and what were you guys eating on that couch?
Oh, okay. So are we talking about when Karen and I first met? Or
When you first started watching the show, or
Oh, gotcha.
anytime
Okay.
you watch the show, when you first think of Karen in the summer, you look over, what's she wearing?
Well, you know what? She's wearing one of those terry cloth little sets with the like a white t-shirt and the purple rim around the short sleeves. And then what do they call those shorts with the scallop? You know, they're like little 70s running shorts, but they were navy blue and made out of terry cloth.
Funny.
You know, it was like a little terry summer set. And
how adorable. And then what were you eating? Like, what was your snack at Karen's house?
SpaghettiOs.
SpaghettiOs.
We ate a lot of SpaghettiOs, potato chips, drank a lot of Pepsi.
And then
Pop-Tarts.
Karen, did you ever watch this at Robbie's house, or was it mostly
no, I watched it at her house. I envision her in like a reddish, almost rust-colored long sleeve shirt, maybe even short sleeve, but plaid pants.
So 70s.
I think she had these
so
plaid
perfect.
pants that I'm like, God
plaid
dang, those
pants
are great
and rust.
Pants. Yes.
Wait,
I think I still have those pants.
So Karen, when you went to Robbie's house, what was the food that you're like, yeah, we don't have this at our house, but it's at her house? Like, what did you guys snack on?
Cereal. I can remember eating cereal at your house.
Sugar cereal.
Yeah, like you were allowed to have cereal after school. That was kind of...
You're so lucky.
Yeah, I wasn't really allowed to do that because I'd eat the whole
Same.
box and my mom would get all mad. But with Robbie's, we'd eat cereal.
Yeah.
So you got to eat the good cereal at Robbie's while she wore plaid pants. That's like pretty serious. And then Karen wore like a terry cloth like running set, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about, where it has the little V-neck.
I know exactly.
But there's like piping, right? So it's like blue and red piping around the neckline and the sleeves, and then the shorts have the piping. Totally.
We called it a sunsuit in California.
A sunsuit.
But that is hilarious. By the way, CBS, you guys.
Okay. Oh yeah, which brings me to
7:30. Yeah.
shooting locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Studio City.
Yeah, they shot at the CBS production place, right? Which, if I'm not remembering this wrong, is where Seinfeld was also filmed in that CBS thing. Like, it's a production place, right? Off of Ventura Boulevard and Radford.
Yeah, it was Studio City, and if I recall, it might have been Seinfeld. I just remember it's wherever Roseanne was filmed. It was the same studio, and they actually got rid of it. Let's see, the Lagoon was built for CBS in their studio lot in 1964. And then they would have to stop filming because they could hear the freeway. They were
my
"Damn it,
gosh.
we're off." Yeah. They could
So the
hear, I don't know
lagoon
if
was
it's
like
101.
outside?
I guess. Well, originally they tried filming in Malibu, but there was too much fog. You know how it gets super foggy, like the marine layer.
Right.
And then they went to that lot, and yeah, they had to stop, when they did the outdoor lot because of the freeway, which is very loud.
Oh, that is really interesting, because I'm thinking of the opening credits, right, where they just got on the island and they're sitting there cooking stuff over a fire, because that doesn't look like a fake lagoon to me.
That was Hawaii. I think that was Hawaii.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense. That's right.
But Amy's right. They did do like either one of the first episodes they filmed at Zuma.
Oh.
But yeah, it didn't, like Amy said, it was just gray constantly.
Yeah.
The sun's never out.
The stage that was at the CBS Radford Studios in Studio City was used for the same stage was later used for the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Roseanne.
Get out.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
a deep dive that's coming too. I have I think the first 3 seasons of Mary Tyler Moore or something, and I was watching it the other day, and it was very funny show, and they got a little serious sometimes too, but it was never like sad, which I don't need that. If I want to get sad, I can think about real life. I don't.
Only Gilligan's Island actor or actress that didn't guest star on The Love Boat.
Oh. It's got to be Tina Louise, right? No?
No.
Don
No.
Wells was on the Love Boat, right?
Russell
Yes.
Johnson was too, wasn't he? No.
The professor?
The professor was the only one who
Oh.
did not guest star on the Love Boat.
Oh.
I can't believe it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we covered when we did Love Boat, we talked and also Teen Idols. Shaun Cassidy, by the way, Karen and I went to see Shaun Cassidy at the big hockey arena like when we were 10. And, you know, it was like the greatest moment of my life.
Wait, Karen, was Robbie wearing plaid during that Shaun Cassidy concert? I need to know
That's a
what she was
good
wearing.
question.
I was probably wearing those same pants because
Probably.
I never got new clothes.
They might have been Garanimals.
Garanimals. Oh my gosh.
No, see, my mom would not buy the brand name Garanimals. I probably had she's like, these go together just fine. Just wear them.
You can have the Duranimals. Here's some
Garanimals.
Yeah.
Muranimals.
I had Tough
from
Skins.
Kmart.
The Sears Tough Skins. You can't have Levi's. You can have Tough Skins.
I know. Why didn't they just buy us Levi's, you guys?
I don't know. We
Well-
often talk about the psychological scars of not having, you know, the real Bastard clogs
can
and
I-
everything.
Yeah. Wait, so girls, now what do you do? I'll remember what Karen wore to this Shaun Cassidy concert.
No,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I don't even remember what I wore. Like,
Yeah.
the whole
I don't know
night
why,
was
but I
just
want to
about
picture
him.
you two.
Yeah, and
I wanna
I
picture
remember
you
we
two,
went to
like-
Gleason's for, was it before the show?
I think it was after.
Or after it was like a treat.
After,
Yeah, there used to be this kind of diner place in downtown Buffalo called Gleason's, and Karen's mom and my mom took us to the show, and then I guess it was after we went and had French fries or whatever it was. So I remember that, but I just don't.
Well,
I don't
before
even
you
remember
two
the plaid
went,
pants.
and I know this is not Gilligan's Island, but this is very important. I think our listeners need to know this because we have Karen, who is often referred to in this podcast,
Right.
with us. So this
Shout
is
out,
very
Karen.
serious. We this is a very serious guest star we have right here. Now listen, everybody, we get info from her. Karen, when you and Robbie first found out you were getting to go to see Shaun Cassidy, what were your conversations like? Like, we're going to fall in love with him, or we get to see him, or like, what were you guys?
We were pretty
Tell
sure.
us how Robbie was when she found this out.
Yeah, we were pretty sure he was going to fall in love with one of us.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
yeah, and we
Right.
were okay with it as long as he ended up with one of us.
Right.
That was
Oh,
okay.
and you
At
guys
10.
were cool,
At
like,
10.
Yeah, we were 10 years old.
and you're both like, he probably will like you. No. He'll like you. No.
Yeah,
like you.
it was more like, you know what? Hey, may the best
Yeah.
girl win.
Right.
You know, like we
Exactly.
were
No, it was-
fine. And
Okay, and then this is very serious. Karen, in your years of knowing young Robbie, can you tell us about a time where you were like, wow, she's got guts. Like, she did that. Like, whoa. Like,
She had the
tell us
best
something that Robbie did where you were like,
toys.
wow.
She had the best toy.
no, Karen did.
ever.
Listen,
No. You had that
I
little-
didn't have the Bionic Woman dome. Okay, that was like,
you had that little box with the little storybooks in it. I
oh
covered
yeah,
it,
that was
so-
cool. Yeah.
Wait, so
that
you
was cool.
two liked each. Well, that's kind of normal. I feel like whatever the other kid has, like their food's better at their house, their toys are better. But you guys liked the toys at each other's homes.
Oh yes, yeah. See, I would have said totally differently that Karen's the one with the cool toys. Okay, remember in the Genie episode, because we broke down Bewitched versus Genie.
Right.
We talked about you and your bottle.
Oh, I
And the
still
doll.
look for that on eBay. It's so.
Oh yeah, it's like
expensive.
$400.
I know, it's ridiculous.
She had the Genie bottle with the little tiny. It was like a Dawn doll, tiny Genie, and you had. I remember at Halloween you had this little ghost thing. It was like a ghost in a box, and it was just this little, polyester
Oh, it was
thing
pet
on a
ghost.
string.
It was on the Pet Rock.
Yeah,
genre,
yeah.
I
It
think.
was a pet ghost. I wanted one of those.
You really
so
liked
bad.
it.
I pestered my parents, and both my parents. Ah, well, it's just a thing in a cardboard box. What do you want a thing? And my dad, I'm not paying $8 for something, So I never
Did
know.
you two ever trick or treat together?
Did we? I don't think we
I
did.
don't think we did.
No, because we
We had our
lived
own
in different
neighborhoods,
neighborhoods. Yeah, and I used to go to my grandma Helen's house in her neighborhood and trick or treat with my cousin,
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
then
which
were
we
you
covered
two-
in our Halloween episode, by the way.
were you two in school classes together?
Only in kindergarten and first grade. Then
So
our
what do
Catholic
you
school
two
closed.
remember about each other in either of those grades?
Well, I remember the day we met.
Yeah,
So
I remember that.
Tell us how that was.
Yeah, so we had these round tables in the kindergarten. It was like a house. And they had these little round tables where the kids all sat. And this was a Catholic school, so it was run by nuns.
Right.
And Sister Marianne was our Catholic teacher. And I remember walking in on the first day of school, and I was totally not afraid. Like other kids were like crying or whatever. I was like, whatever, man, it's the first day of school. And I saw Karen sitting at this table, and I just marched right up to her. I was like, I want to know her. So I marched right up to her with her little glasses. She had glasses.
She had little glasses.
Yeah, and I was like, hi, what's your name? And she's like, Karen. I said, Karen what? Karen, and then she said her last name.
Yeah.
And I go, can I be your friend?
And didn't your mom work at the school?
Yeah, my mom volunteered part-time.
I remember her like saving some girl that was having a diabetic episode. She's like saw the footprints on the wall, and your mom was like, give her some orange juice.
That sounds like my mother.
I totally
Oh my
remember.
God, get
This
her
little
some
girl's
orange
just
juice.
like, look at the footprints going up the wall, and your mom's like, oh, give her some orange juice.
Yeah, that would have been my mom.
That's a little bit traumatic for little kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, Karen, what do you remember, if anything? I know it's like so long ago, but do you remember the essence of Robbie?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I can remember that the school had, which was basically just a house, but it had a room the boys played in and a room the girls played in, and we always wanted to play in the boys' room, and they would beat us up.
Yeah, or they would try.
Right, they would try to beat us up.
Yeah.
And Robbie was just always like, she was just sort of the powerhouse, and just no, we're gonna play here.
So right away,
a little bossy.
right away, when I asked you the question, when was Robbie brave? Oh, from the jump.
Yeah,
When wasn't Robbie brave?
You're
Is
right.
what you should have said.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's how she always was. Oh my gosh, Rob, you were just not even caring about those boys. You're like, please.
Well, yeah, and listen, I don't want.
And Rocky shoved her into the blocks once, and
Oh, we discussed Rocky.
Yeah.
We talked
Punched her
about
in the
Rocky in our school bullies
On teacher
episode
day.
because I don't know if you. Yes, he shoved me because there were these
Into
little
the
trunks
blocks.
that had
That's
all the wooden
painful.
blocks in them, and he pushed me backwards, and I fell like ass over teacup right into the thing full of blocks. You know, and the guys are like, you know. But Rocky is the one on picture day. I was standing right behind him, and I told him to comb his hair, and he turned and punched me in the stomach. And like I doubled over like,
I love that you told him to comb his hair.
well, it needed combing. I'm like, you should comb your hair. He's
He
like,
just
you should
punched you
shut
in the
up.
gut?
Punched me.
Wait, so Karen, so Robbie was basically just like, hey, we're gonna play here. We like you guys probably like their toys. Probably had better
had
toys.
good
You didn't want the
toys.
dolls.
Well, yeah, and I didn't like the segregation. I didn't understand why the girls had to be over here. And
With the
I don't even
dolls.
remember the toys in the girls' room. What?
Yeah,
It was
I don't
probably
either.
dolls and baby carriages and like cleaning items.
Yeah, like indoctrination,
brooms.
right? But in
It
the
was like brooms and
the boys
irons
one, the
and-
boys had Tinker toys and blocks and like stuff you can make and Legos and all this crazy stuff that we liked. You know, I
Yeah,
didn't
of
want to go
course.
and cradle some doll. You know, like that wasn't fun for me.
that is hilarious.
And you know, and I was
So, Karen,
I was
were you
ahead of my
like-
time.
Karen's like, you know what? This is fun.
Oh yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, so we were very simpatico that way because I wanted to play with the blocks and the Tinker toys and all that too.
Right.
I didn't really care about playing with the doll houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, we did a lot of that. Like when we were together, like if I stayed over at her house or vice versa, we were always playing, like making things and scenes and like Star Wars worlds and, you know,
Oh,
the little dolls.
cool.
It wasn't a lot of, domestic kind
Yeah.
of typical female role.
Game show. We used to play game
Oh yeah,
show.
yeah. We would set up our stuffed animals, and it was like a game show. We had a little stage. We did a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, so you guys had a very creative friendship.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
And I feel like kids don't have that nowadays. They don't get you know, they play too many games.
Yeah, I know.
Too many video games.
I worry about kids now. I mean, I know how much time I spend on my damn phone. I can't believe in a kid. A kid.
No, the kids still do all that. The kids still play all those weird games, until they get old enough to where they just don't play.
Yeah.
We listen to records. They do this, but yeah, they still build stuff with the couch cushions. I've watched kids through the years and been like,
good.
okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, that
it
makes
made me feel better. I was like,
That's
okay.
good.
Yeah, that makes you feel better. Okay,
Yeah.
so Aim, I need you to talk for a second because I realized I forgot to grab the magic 8-ball.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Yeah, and we're out of time, but before we go, we got to ask the magic 8-ball. So just give me 1 second, all right?
All right, so Karen, I have another question.
Yes.
What have we forgotten about your favorite show, Gilligan's Island? Can you tell us anything else that needs to be thrown into this episode that would make it perfect?
That would make it perfect.
Like, what's something else you've heard about it where you're like, oh, wait a second, because I like hearing all these tidbits.
Well, I think, and you hit on one of the earlier tidbits, and that was the friendship that Marianne and Mrs. Howell had in real life, Natalie Schafer and Dawn Wells. I just think that is so cool that even after the show was done for years, and the fact that Dawn Wells did take care of Natalie Schafer in her, later in life. I love
That's
that.
so lovely.
Yeah. That kind of sums up the show in a way to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all those people genuinely cared about each other. Like, if you think about it, there was no villain.
No.
There wasn't there wasn't somebody gumming up the works. Like, they had little conflicts and stuff, but they really did work together on the show. And think about how much of a different show it would be.
And I love how none of the characters, other than Mr. and Mrs. Howell, were romantically involved.
Right.
Because that would have made life on the island a living hell if you had done that.
Right.
So,
and it would have been a different show.
Complicated it and
like I never wanted any of them to get together because I felt like
Too weird.
And I believe in those 5 storylines. Like, those 5 storylines, they're still funny. Like, even if there are 10 episodes that have basically the same plot, the execution of that plot and those actors, they were all so great. They were so funny, and it is. I mean, you said it, Karen. It's a warm fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you're having a terrible day or whatever, and you just pop it on, you literally escape.
Yeah.
You're inside the TV, sitting on. Oh, and you know what? I thought about this the other day. So, the skipper and Gilligan both slept in those hammocks, right? And the skipper slept above Gilligan. Why couldn't they each have their own hammock? Why did they have to sleep on top of each other?
Beds?
Yeah.
They wanted more
come?
space, Rob. They only had a certain amount of space in that little hut.
Well, it seemed like there was enough space to even have one
And
facing
Mr. and
this
Mrs.
way.
Howell did not sleep in the same bed.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, but
Ooh.
they didn't have cots. They had beds.
They had like twin beds. Yes.
So
How
somewhere on the
cute.
island
I
they
forgot about that.
built out of coconuts and bamboo. They made
He did. There's another invention. The beds.
right. Yeah. Okay. So we hate when we run out of time, but it happens. And so we're gonna ask the Magic 8-Ball some questions. Aim, do you have a burning question you would like to ask the Magic 8-Ball?
Would Professor have ended up marrying Marianne in real life?
You mean if they escaped the island,
Correct.
or if they stayed on the island?
Either.
Okay.
Would they have ended up together?
All right. If the cast escaped the island, would the Professor and Marianne end up together?
Yes, that's my question.
8-Ball speaks. My sources say no.
Okay, fair.
But wait
That's
a minute.
final.
Would the Professor end up marrying Ginger?
That was going to be my question.
Is that
Right?
Karen's? Okay, let's see.
Okay.
Maybe they're better suited.
It is decidedly so.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
there it is.
Opposites attract.
Right.
You know what?
So-
The Professor would have looked nice in a tux at a movie premiere.
Yeah.
He would have cleaned up. He could have gotten in her world.
Right. He could be
And
Mr.
she could have
Ginger
maybe,
Grant.
Mr.
Sure.
Ginger Grant.
All right. Well, thank you, Karen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
This was awesome. This was
hopefully
really
this is
fun.
not the last time.
Yes.
Because we have so much to unpack, as they say. We want to remind everybody that we have a website, glitterboomgirls.com. We're on Twitter, glitterbgirls, Instagram, glitterbgirls. We love hearing from you. So DM us, because sometimes we take our topics from suggestions and all that. And whatever you're listening to right now, we're also on Spotify, Apple, Google, Audible, and YouTube. Thanks you guys for listening, and thanks again to Karen for being our very special guest.
Thank you, Karen.
Her name would be above the title, as they say.
I loved it. It was awesome.
Right?
It was fun.
Yes.
I could talk about this stuff all day.
Right? Hey,
It's
so
hard
could
to
we.
stop. It is hard to
So
hard
could
to
we.
stop.
All right. So thanks you guys for listening, and we will see you next time. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson on the East Coast.
And I'm Amy Asberg on the West Coast.
See ya.
Bye.